All right. We have a follow-through day. Another follow-through day essentially on the Nasdaq today as it advanced 1.07%, 189 points. Call it 190. We'll round up and close at 17,928 with volume above yesterday's volume, which constitutes essentially a subsequent follow-through day on top of the prior follow-through days. Welcome to my daily review. Today is Thursday, May 8th. A great day on the Nasdaq for a lot of stocks. Some of the leaders took the day off, which is okay because it allows the moving averages to catch up. But we saw a lot of strong moves on earnings report. I'm going to get to that here after I go through a couple of indexes here. The Nasdaq now is at the moment of truth here, where it's 2%, 2.1% below the 200 here. So this is really going to tell a lot about our rally here when it gets up to this black line. If it gets there, it might sell off. But what we saw yesterday, all we know is what's happened. Okay, we can't predict the future, but we've seen this rally up here, and it pulled back on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday to the 10 EMA here. It found support and bounced slightly on Wednesday, and today had a nice run up. As our president said, it's a good day to buy stocks or a good time to buy stocks. So anyway, that always helps. Anyway, no geopolitical crap today. Just observing the Nasdaq is very constructive day yesterday and follow through day today. So this is looking very good for a V-shaped type of recovery. We need to get above. Now today, I've got to point out that the high was above 18,000, 18,000, almost 18,001. And right here, we've got the old 281 and the 200 is at, today it was at 315. And it looks like it's pretty flat here. Yeah, 315, 315, 315. So it's kind of flattened out. So I'd like to see the Nasdaq get above the old 18,281, then of course above the 200, which is 18,315, which it's still 300, 400 points away from it. So it's got work to do. I continue to say it's got work to do. This is very encouraging, it's very constructive, but it still has work to do. And if you're not in, a lot of times the money is made in spurts, and so if you have sessions, a lot of people got discouraged with the market during the 27% correction. They give up. You never want to give up. You hang with it. You keep plugging along. You stick with your system. You keep looking for leaders, and we are starting to see some more and more leaders show up, and I'm going to get to that in a minute as well. But you got to be in it to win it. And the market is not linear. It goes in spurts up and down, and you got to hang with it. You can't give up. Quitters don't prosper in the stock market. All right, I guess I'll go to the SPY here. That's my lecture for today. The SPY. Let me see here. This one's a little closer. Yeah, 1.4% to the 200. So looking for, God, it got really close to that today. The 200 today was 573.22 and the high was 570. It's only 3 points away. So looking for a trade above there. The 200 today was 573, I said, and it's got this 576, this old high here. So SPY is looking good. Once again, a nice constructive move. Was not up above 1%, like the Nasdaq was. Okay, and anyway, I'm gonna move on because I got a lot of stuff to get to today. I'm all about earnings. A stock is not going to have a sustained rally for quarters and months and years without earnings growth. So earnings are very important to me. I watch earnings and I like to own stocks that have superior earnings growth. New products like AXON, everybody thinks of AXON as the taser, but they have a lot of new products that allow the police and military to detain people more humanely and more safely so they're not caught up in lawsuits. So a lot of police forces throughout the country have contracts with Axon for their equipment. And they reported today, and once again, you're looking at 30% sales growth, consistently 32, 34, 31. And it's got the earnings growth here, 23, down from the 84, but still solid earnings, and it popped today 14% on that report. You can see it's still consolidating within the base. pulled back to the 21 now, popped today, but still has that standard buy point at 715. MELI, this is one that reported last night. These are last night's report. I'll get to this morning's reports. Just got to go over these because these are important to me. I mean, MELI consistently delivering this 35, 37 percent sales growth. Last quarter had triple digit earnings growth. Today or last night, 44%. The stock responded up 6.5%. You could see it breaking out of this double bottom base pattern where it had this shakeout here. This is what I mean. You got to hang with them. You got 3 or 4 or 5 days and people are going, this stock sucks. It's going down every day. Then all of a sudden, whoop, we get the new data point and it's off to the races. So kind of did something similar here, right? Double bottom, ran up to 23.74, double bottom. Now ran up today, but longer term, if you want to look at MELI, this thing's been just a monster. This is a monster model book stock, whatever you want to call it. All right, App 11. This one had the short reports from the, Fuzzy Panda and the Bear Cave and all over the place. I think it was Culper. I looked them up. There were four of them. And this thing just doesn't care. Had a nice day today, only up, 12%. It was up much higher and then pulled back here. It closed near the lows of the session, I believe. Yeah, 19% of the daily range. And not that big of a range there. Yeah, it gapped up and then kind of flattened out into the close. Still a nice day. I mean, we're going to take 12% any day of the week, right? Dutch Bros reported very strong quarter for Dutch Bros. Once again, like App 11, like these stocks that I'm showing you, MELI, solid, consistent sales growth and in restaurants, this is one of the stocks that I picked out, I think 10 or 12 or 15 stocks that are going to have, I think, 4 solid quarters in 2025. They're not all going to be blowout. There's some are going to be better than others. It's going to be up and down. It's not linear, but the same store sales with this company is 4.7%, which is pretty darn strong. Tells you that they're taking market share from, Starbucks or some of the other Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know which ones, but I do go by Dutch Bros a lot. There's a bunch of them here in town, and they're packed all the time. And kids like them. I gotta say I'd say the clientele there is probably below 40 for sure, 40 years of age, and mostly kids. The people who work there tell me that a lot of kids before school in the morning they load up there and their drinks before school or coffee or whatever. But anyway, just getting back to sales and earnings growth, I mean, 56%. Now, the reason why it didn't really pop today, and some people were, asking me last night, why isn't this thing popping? It's a good report. It's flat. It's down after hours. Well, you got to give these things time. Robinhood reported like 2 weeks ago, and finally it moved today. You got to be patient. I mean, this will be rewarded over time. One thing they didn't do is they didn't raise full year guidance. And so, that might have been a reason to, consider holding it back. But come on, man, this thing was up 9% with volume. So, yeah, just give these things some time to, it might take a couple more quarters here in 2025 for the stock to get really moving. And I think they will continue to deliver, this solid sales and earnings growth. So yeah, you could tell I like Bros a lot. Only in 18 states, got a bunch of growth in the United States, and of course Canada, Mexico, Europe. They have international growth that I think they have a long runway, but that's just me. This is SEZL I was mentioning last night. If they got above 70, it'd be great. Heck, this thing got above 80 today, and it closed at what, 74.98, called 75. It went up to 81. Wow, 42% move. That's a huge bar. Big volume here for SEZL. That thing probably heavily shorted, and the shorts got burned. Good for them. Trying to get cute. Carvana, another heavily shorted stock. 10% move here. You can see this nice cup. It doesn't have a handle. All patterns don't need to have handles, but this is like a little 5-day shelf here into the print. You can see the caution ahead of the new data point in Carvana with a nice move. ARM. Now, Wall Street did not really like the ARM report. It's got the sales growth, it's got the earnings growth, but it's a really expensive stock. And semiconductors are out of favor due to, yeah, I'm not going to get into it. They're just out of favor. Down 6% on the earnings report. Paycom had a nice move, PAYC. They don't really have the sales and earnings growth, but it did have a nice move. Groupon with a 42% move here, nice gap higher. What else do we have here? There's news for Groupon. Oh, I've got to get to the drug stocks are just totally out of favor now. There's talking about pharma tariffs and Medicare, and it's just a mess. New heads of the FDA, it's just a lot of moving parts. And whenever there's uncertainty, Wall Street just sells off. And this is Catalyst Pharmaceutical had a nice report, 44%. You're looking at accelerating sales growth, accelerating earnings growth, man. But they're just radioactive right now, these drug stocks. It's unfortunate because you look at this, earnings growth, 32 to 79. They spend a lot of money on R&D, developing drugs and then launching them, salespeople. I mean, there's a lot of money involved here. And then the government comes in and just think, oh, you should just have cheap drugs. Well, it doesn't really work that way. These guys have to have profits too to fund more R&D to have new drugs. So it's kind of a cycle. And yeah, well, they're just out of favor now. So ADMA, these guys reported a strong quarter as well, 40% sales growth, 75%, EPS growth, but this thing sold off hard, 10%. It was down further than that at the open, and look at this move. And then, got bought up, but still down 10%. They announced a 500 million stock buyback program. It's only a 5 billion market cap, so they can take 10% of the float off the market. So I don't know why this thing's down, and I would hope that they would be putting money to work at these low prices. That was a good report. The only thing they didn't do is they didn't raise guidance, and they had the FDA approval recently. So I think Wall Street was thinking that they're going to be more aggressive, and they were very cautious. There's a lot of CEOs have been cautious recently. Anyway, I think that's it for last night's earnings reports. And then we have this morning's Dave. Dave's not here. Yeah, Dave is not here. Dave's rocketing to the moon here, up 42% here. Man, somebody was asking me, they were, should I take some profit? Should I take profit? I said, heck, you're up 40%, man. You should take some off the table. That's a crazy move. But you want to let your winners run, so you want to leave some on. And 40%, I got to take a little bit off and buy a dinner or buy a round of golf or buy a round of drinks or something. That's a crazy move. But you could see the nice setup here in the base, trading tight within the base, and it got the new data point and moved. The CEO did say they knocked the cover off the ball. And once again, I've got to go back to this, triple digit earnings, man. That's what's going to drive the stock higher. And this is another one of these, fintech stocks that are doing really well, as well as SEZL that I showed you earlier. CROX reported this morning they have no growth. Hey Dude is just like an albatross, but it's been beaten down so much. I think there was just some short covering here, up nearly 10% on a pretty pedestrian quarter. They're doing about a billion a quarter, but the Crocs brand is saturated in the United States, and they don't really have, they bought Hey Dude for a new brand, but Hey Dude is just struggling. They have not figured it out. So I think the Crocs brand will still do okay, but man, this is a tough investment here if you're relying on Hey Dude, because they just have not figured it out at all. Anyway, Shopify reported, Canadian company, double bottom base here, just flat on this session. Not bad. Sales growth 27, earnings growth 25. That's respectable. But in this type of market where we're starting to rally, you want the best of the best. You want those leaders. And I post them every morning at mcstockcharts.com. They don't have to be making new highs, but they have to be trending higher above their moving averages. And probably if they're doing that, they're near new highs if they're not at new highs, which leads me to, the one that let us out of the gate here was Netflix. When they reported earnings, once again, earnings driving the ship here, or the train or the boat or whatever vehicle you're in, powerhouse earnings, they're expecting 31 bucks next year. And so this is what's driving Netflix higher. It's not, magic, the fairy dust, smoke and mirrors. They're delivering earnings and the stock's going higher. Robinhood, I mentioned it earlier. This one had great earnings report. I mean, if you look here, you can't even tell when they reported earnings. It's just going sideways, trading gently back into a moving average. Finally found support here on Tuesday. And then Wednesday had a nice bounce above the moving averages. And I think that's when it shows up on my screens when it bounces above the moving averages. And then today, what was this? Tuesday, pulled back to 45.82, bounced a little bit on Wednesday, up nearly 3% and made it above 50. And now today just rallied up, nicely 8%. So this one's starting to move. Of course, I don't think it hurts that Bitcoin is trading higher. I think it was above, last I checked, it was above 100,000. But this is one that I own. Why? Because, I posted in that video, I think it's going to deliver 4 quarters of solid sales and earnings growth. And, if it sells off, I can always sell it. But as long as it's in this trend, where the 10 and the 21 are trading above, the 50, it looks, I've got to change this too. Now that I'm showing you leaders, I got to show the 5 because the real powerful stocks, the ones that we want, right? You want the best of the best. They should be supported at the 5, and you could see that here. Yeah, traded down to the 21 and bounced, but yesterday it was the 5. Now today it's what 7% above the 5. So that's a nice move. All right. That's Robinhood. I cannot go much further without Spot and Duolingo. Another one, this one's just a beast. Powerhouse had the shakeout +3. Like I said, once that, now I have the 5, but the 10 and the 21 drive through the 50, especially the 21 goes through the 50. That's go time. And that one looks good. Now I got to point out, oh, the Nasdaq rip today, it was, doing great. We had a follow through day essentially, and spot was down. This thing sucks, right? No, you want it to come in. You want it to pull back. You don't want it going higher every day and getting exhausted. Pullbacks are good, allow some people to get in at moving averages. If you don't own this stock and you want to buy it, that's what kind of day you want. You want to pull back to the 5 where you can, be quick and nimble and bounce on that thing. Was it William O'Neill said there's only 2 types of people in the market, the quick and the dead. This is Duolingo, and you can see it's not even pulling back to its 5. Made another new high today. Spotify and made a new high as well. If I go back there, made a new high, but it was down. So it popped up and then came down. So that's an opportunity, like there's your new high, and then immediately sold off. And then some buyers came in. But yeah, Spotify, 655. This thing's going higher. Duolingo going higher. Oh, one that I was going to put on my ready list, and I did, and I kind of kicked myself for it because, well, they have earnings next week. But this I knew was going to get some pen action off that MELI report. And I just like this pattern here, a little shelf type pattern as the 5 catches up and then it pops. I did not put that one on my list. I did put CoreWeave on there. This is one that I like as well. Just the IPO base. Once it was above, the prior high, 54.83, 54.91. Now today, 55.70. So, you want to see it keep making higher highs, right? This one's respecting the 5. It doesn't have it hasn't traded long enough to have like a 50 and a 200. So, I'm just going by the 5 here. So CoreWeave is just a new issue. Okay, a couple other ones in the cybersecurity space. I like this space a lot because it's an essential. And I think these guys are going to deliver for solid quarters in 2025, taking market share. You could see this solid, 35, 43, 47% sales growth. Not ideal because it's still losing money, so you go to the, cash flow, there isn't any. So this is more of a spec play. But you got to start somewhere, right? As an IPO, and it's a recent IPO. So I think it'll grow into the evaluation here, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it. CrowdStrike, this is the big daddy of the group. CrowdStrike, Zscaler, Palo Alto Networks, pulled back yesterday on what the news of what they're laying people off and reiterated guidance. Only up $6 today, 1.5%, but definitely leading stock for sure in that cybersecurity group. Uber, it took the day off. It had earnings yesterday, pulled back. Now it's below the 5 here, but definitely still one to watch. And looking like a leader, GEV, another one of these leading stocks, just kind of took a pause today, a pause that refreshes. They don't have to go up every day like it has been doing. And this one pulled back below its 5, or right at its 5. We'll call it what, 395. is the five, yeah, 394. So it's just a tick below there. So look for that one to bounce either tomorrow or next week. These leading stocks are not going to give you a lot of chances to get in. Hims and hers, let me see here. 425 million secondary offering, and it pulled back, but not even close to its five. This one's really gotten overheated. But if this thing pulls back here to its five, which today was at 47.24, going up what more than $2 a day. So it'll only take a couple days to get up to 51. So watching this one closely, I don't even know if this one's going to come back to the five. Super strong stock. Yeah, for obvious reasons. Once again, you got to look at the earnings number. I hate to be, harping on the same thing, but there's, it's really critical to have, quarterly and annual earnings growth. Um, where am I going next here? I'm getting lost. Oh, the MicroStrategy, which is, with Robinhood, the Bitcoin move. I like this one above 400, but especially above 404.42 with volume. And that's what we got today. I had that one on the ready list as well. Did I buy it? No. And, you can't kiss all the babies. It's up after hours too. So that tells me Bitcoin's probably still going higher. What else do I have? Oh yeah, the defense names. How I Met Your Mother just making new highs. We pulled back to the five on Tuesday. That's all you get. Not giving you much of a chance to get in. KTOS. This one's going to be off the leading stock list. It pulled back sharply today, 5%, back to its 21. So below the 10, it's not going to show up on my leading stock list. And then, oh, the last one is odd. I have a friend who loves odd. He DMs me every day. It drives me crazy. Congratulations, you own odd and it's doing great. So good for you. I don't own odd. That's fine. I told him that I'd rather own Elf, and today Elf outperformed it. He didn't say anything. Up 2%. This is it's got a gap here for Elf. A few Elf fans, that low of 86.29. Probably going to take that out at some point. This looks like, just a rounding stage one type of base here. These guys still got good, strong sales growth, but I mentioned earnings growth and it's been slowing down, so definitely a red flag. And this one, of course, has been to the mountaintop and then down the mountain. But these stocks that come down the mountain sometimes, form stage one bases and rally back into the stage two, Weinstein stage two base. All right. That's it for that group. The leaders, I'm into leaders. Anyway, I am a teacher. I taught for a long time. Then I got demoted to being a principal for 20 years. And as a teacher and a principal, I always look for abnormal things, because stocks are like people. And when people act abnormally, then you know something's wrong. And with a student, I knew if they were acting abnormally, there was usually something wrong at home. It was never a boyfriend, girlfriend. It was always, mom and dad. And I don't want to get too deep here, but I just want to point out that this stock consistently runs up and pulls back, runs up, pulls back, runs up, pulls back, has these prolonged pullbacks, right? So it ran up and now it's pulling back. This is totally normal. Oh, by the way, all these pullbacks are at higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. So it's got this nice little channel here, of just higher lows. This thing's up over 100% this year. And, if you want to do this channel here, higher highs or from here, yeah. I mean, higher lows, higher highs. Definition of an uptrend longer term. Now, in the short term, a lot of people are giving me a hard time because, oh, this thing sucks. It's not going anywhere. It's been down, blah, blah, blah. Well, it depends on your time frame. Like, I think this one's going to be a $10 billion market cap. Last week it was 7 billion. This week it's 5.3. But you can see the trend here. They have this, drug that's taking market share, higher lows, man. So, just chill out. If you are a day trader, swing trader, no, this is not your cup of tea here. But if you're holding for the longer term, like my wife is, she doesn't even look at it. She doesn't even know it's sold off. Kind of bugs me. Ignorance is bliss sometimes. She'll look at it at Christmas time and say, hey, we had a pretty good year. But yeah, it's going to make its 10 billion market cap. It's growing. Another one of these companies that's growing, sales and earnings at a ridiculous rate, but it doesn't grow linear. And this is, like I say, that's its personality. If there was something abnormal, then I would, tell her that, to sell it. But as long as it keeps doing this and making higher lows, even if it pulls back to the 200 there at $31, to me, that's fine. That's what it does. And then the lower it goes, then you're more apt to have a rebound and a rally. So you want to buy the dips and sell the rips. Classic on TGTX. I just wanted to point that out with all the people who are getting a little excited about this thing. It's doing what is normal, and that's what you look for in a stock. Normal behavior. Yeah, people are like stocks and stocks are like people. Sometimes you get the ones that jump up and down like crazy, and then you get the ones who sit in the back, observe everything. They're total A students, never say a word. But yeah, everybody's different. So I just wanted to point out though that in the this group here, the drug group, they're just getting murdered, crucified. This is Eli Lilly, one of the big kahunas. J&J, another one of these big ones. GlaxoSmithKline, these stocks, I got to go to the XBI because there's just too much turmoil, too much uncertainty. Yeah, it had that nice run, but man, this last couple of weeks have been getting hammered. This one actually closed up today, rallied up. That's a good sign because the morning it gapped down on the news, and then cooler heads prevailed, I guess, man. All right. Anyway, got to stay away from those. I did mention earlier that I like the cybersecurity group, and it's not just Rubrik, and it's not just CrowdStrike or Zscaler, Palo Alto. Okta, I like this one. It made that high of 118 here, and then you got some sellers. The market corrected, right? And then, of course, we had the April 7th low, and then it's been rallying ever since. So this thing's kind of been doing what the index has been doing, but now it's making new highs. Well, the index is not making new highs. So this is showing leadership above the moving average, catching the support at the 5 all the way up. So I've been remiss in not putting this one on my ready list. So this is another one that I like in that group, and also GEN, another one of these cybersecurity names, not talked about much, but yeah, rallying through its moving averages here, and you can see the 5, which the 10 is now through the 21, excuse me, the 50, and the 21 looks to rally through the 50. So to me, this is one to watch for sure, above the moving averages there. And the last one I wanted to point out, oh, Fortinet reported last night, and Wall Street didn't like it. Decelerating sales growth, I guess. Still 35% earnings growth, but you could see it sliced all of its moving averages. So that's no bueno. All right, one last group, the consumer services education group, very strong here. This is LRN, had a nice run, then pulled back to the 5. We'll see if it bounces tomorrow or Monday, but that looks pretty good. And then ATGE, and that's it for me. Made a new high today. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except in honor of the great Steve Jobs. Thursday night, we had some earnings reports, and they look pretty good, just from the, I shouldn't say the naked eye. Yeah, it just looks pretty good. After hours, this is a trade desk, up 22%. I did not get into any of these details here. I just glanced and saw that they beat on quite a few metrics here. So you can see this one's been beaten up. And when you get a move like this, if it gets above this level here, these shorts are in real trouble. Yeah, because underneath here, right, and this big gap, it's probably going to trade, fill that gap there, what, 118. And right here, you got these people who have been shorting it at 83, 80, 62, 42. And now all of a sudden it's popping. What, tomorrow it's going to be 70. So, yeah, that's going to be a short squeeze tomorrow. Yeah, you don't want to be caught in this island here if you're short. Anyway, beaten down name, good report. And so congrats to the longs. Coinbase. Yeah, yeah, I tell you, man, if I'm going to own something related to crypto, it's going to be MicroStrategy or Hood, Robinhood, because those are the ones that show up in my leaders. You know, I don't know. Look at the data here. The numbers are fantastic, but this stock just can't get out of its own way. So it's got some other type of issues. I haven't looked that closely at it, but because it's got these issues. I mean, I'm not interested in stocks like that. This is Mara. Wow. Even with the Bitcoin up so much, this one's down after hours. Okay. Cloudflare, the 2020 darling Cloudflare up 11%. This is another, cybersecurity type name. And I had this nice shelf pattern above the 5 going into earnings and a nice 11% move. I like that. Pinterest reported. I know this one was up after hours. Yeah, nice 16%. So we're getting some nice moves here after hours in some of these names. What was the other one I was looking at? Oh, INOD. I did not see the report. Down 10%. Ugh. As soon as I mentioned all the reports are nice, here I go. Affirm, INOD, DraftKings reported tonight. Up a couple percent. We'll take that. And then I know one that's up after hours, a good report. TMDX up above 100 here. 12% move. And yeah, this one, once again, it's got this little island here. And you don't want to get caught in this thing. You don't want to get caught in these islands if you're short. If you're long and you're thinking, well, my stock's beaten down, how low can it go? And this one has a gap. We'll call it gap here. Give the shorts a break, 116. So yeah, short squeeze would not surprise me back up to that level. Tomorrow it's at 104 after hours. So congrats to the longs that are stuck with this one. Yeah, that's going to be pretty rough for you shorts. Good luck getting out. And the problem with options, shorting with options, you can't get out until it opens tomorrow, and then you just look at your account just all bloody red. So that's tough to operate that way. EXPE, I didn't expect much out of this, and it delivered to the downside. Yeah, just it's yeah, that's just the lay of the land right now. All right, tomorrow morning, Wolf. I don't know if anybody's interested in Wolf. This is a Bitcoin play. They report tomorrow, $3 stock. I'm desperate. ENB, this is a Canadian oil and gas transportation pipeline stock. They report in the morning. Nice tight trading, pull back to the 21 today. So I'm interested in how that moves tomorrow. And then the Wi-Fi, the in-flight Wi-Fi GOGO reports in the morning. This thing, speaking of GOGO, it has GOGO nowhere for a long, long time. This thing is just a downtrend and just blah. So I don't know. Not a stock I would want to own. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. You got to stick with the leaders in this rally, folks. Very critical. You want in the late in the game, you want those clutch hitters up, those all-stars. You don't want the rookies. And they're sticking out like sore thumbs, and they're starting to broaden out here. We know Netflix and Spotify and Duolingo, but now we're starting to see stocks like Robinhood, and they're going to see stuff like this, GEV, charging higher, and those are the stocks you want to own, in the of course, like just for my buddy, got to put odd. You want these ones with the the strength. I would like to see more sales and earnings growth, so I'm just picking on that one. And SE, these are showing up on my leaderboard every day. Yeah, it's not making new highs, but look at it surfing the 5 and it's damn close to a new high. Come on, man. 1% off of a new high. So that, all leader, a new high list is a great place to look. But I'll take a trending stock with the sales and earnings growth over just a stock making a new high because you never know why it's making a new high. It could just be a short squeeze or not sustainable based on earnings and sales growth. So anyway, the stocks that are on this leaderboard that I post every morning at mcstockcharts.com. And if you have one of those stocks on the leaderboard that's close to a buy point, like I posted this morning, that's probably what you should be buying, that one. And I did buy this one. It's okay. Can't kiss all the babies though. Anyway, thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up ever.